We continue with our discussion on leadership, Bible leader style. We have covered several leaders, looking at what lessons we can draw from them that can help us in our leadership today. Again, I remind you, when I call you a leader, it doesn't mean you're a president or a governor. It means there are some people you influence. Anybody who has a following, anybody who is admired by somebody or some bodies is a leader. Because as far as you need to understand, if they admire you, what you do, they are likely to want to do. So you have an influence on them. You are a leader. And it will be important to always understand, once you have a leader, God will hold you accountable on how you lead. And so we want to see Bible leaders. What lessons can they give us? Today I pick a very controversial character called Samson, who was a judge. A judge was the leader before they had kings. A judge was a man who listened to God on behalf of the people and led them, judged them on the basis of what God said. And that's what this guy Samson was. And it's important to understand several things about Samson. Number one, that he was Samson the strong. He is the strongest man the Bible ever recorded. And God always gives a gift to a leader that helps him to become admired so that people can follow him. For Samson, it was his physical strength. And they think that was something that he was able to give evidence of in many places in Genesis chapter 16. And it's important to understand even you as a leader, you must check what are the gifts God has given you, because those are the gifts God will use so that you can help your community or your people to go where God wants them to go. Number two, like we'll see, he did not use that strength very well in most places, which he didn't use the strength with a lot of wisdom. And it's an issue that we need to have at the back of our mind, that having strength without wisdom will have the same problem Samson had. So you also need to understand as a leader, what are the giftings? Don't use the gifts without wisdom. It will be important. And thirdly and importantly, he was a womanizer, unfortunately not understanding that women are the stronger sex. There are a lot of people who think that women are the weaker sex, but you just need to follow the story of Samson. And what will happen is that the story of Samson will show you a woman brought down this man. It would have been obvious. It should have been obvious to him that he is going the wrong direction. But the moment you don't have wisdom, any woman can bring you down. And was actually brought down. And finally he died without eyes. So that's the introduction of this guy. Now, when he is born, the angel comes first to tell the couple, the childless couple. In many people in the Bible who became great were born by barren women. This is one of them. And the angel tells the lady that the person that is going to be born is going to be a person who is going to be special. She tells the husband also gets to hear from the angel also. So he is born clear that he was a Nazarite, somebody set apart. That's the kind of background we see this young boy. But you know something we learned right from him? That he had physical strength, but little spiritual power. You need wisdom, but you also need spiritual power. He was very easily overcome by temptations. Many times, either he got angry, or he easily gave in to pestering. He foolishly played with danger. He was foolish, and he foolishly played with danger and it actually destroyed him. That is in Judges chapter 16, verse 15. You know, his strength was in his hair, and he knew it. It was a symbol of his consecration. Nazarites had long hair because they were not allowed to cut it. And that's where his power came from. He was a consecrated man. No wonder he had power. But unfortunately, he did not understand that his power came, his physical strength was related with his spiritual strength. So he wanted to continue with his physical strength and don't play any role with his spiritual, with his spiritual strength, play around with it. You need to understand, many things you do, you only do because God has gifted you. It is your spiritual connection that makes you who you are. The moment you do not take care about your spiritual walk, you will soon see your business acumen wasted, your military power lost, and all coming from lack of spiritual wisdom. Verse 15, Judges chapter 16, verse 15 says, Then she said to him, How can you say, I love you, when you won't confide in me? This is the third time you have made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. You know, God gave this guy an opportunity, just like the Holy Spirit always gives us convictions. She said the first time, once he had told, what he had told, of course, not the whole truth, but she said something that's not quite true. She called enemies. Now, surely, I thought after that you'd now know you can't trust this woman. But this guy was so foolish and so spiritually disconnected that he finally felt pestered. But if somebody is pestering you, what are you doing next to them? And that is true of many leaders. They have been brought down by lack of spiritual strength. They have the power, they have the greatness, but they are not connected with the Spirit of God, and to end up bringing them down. Of course, related with it is the assumption that since you are the man, you can control the women. Not understanding, like I said in the introduction, that women are the stronger sex. They have brought many men down, including Samson. So the moment a leader understands that he can't stand a woman, he'll be very careful when he is dealing with any woman who is not his wife, because he knows he could fall and bring himself into disrepute and destroy his leadership. That's one of the great things the story of Samson will teach you. You know, leaders must be careful who they trust, because that's really the problem. You know, when you trust people in your kitchen cabinet who have other motives, they will bring you down. So the question is, why would you have people who are not trustworthy around your kitchen cabinets? Don't you understand that you are consecrated? It means you are set apart. You cannot relate with everybody because of your consecration. And you see, the moment you lost your spiritual consecration, you lose your physical strength. And the Philistine can now seize you and put your eyes out. You know, Judges chapter 16, verse 19 says, after putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. He had said what could happen. He took a foolish risk, and so he became destroyed. You as a leader, what kind of partnerships are you having? You say, no, I can handle them, and yet you are having alliances with evil, or with the people who do not desire the good of your nation or the good of the general public. So you have people with their own motives. They'll bring you down because you are losing your consecration. You know, this terrible tragedy that our friend Samson experienced, and brought sorrow on himself. It was such that he actually lost his sight. He became terribly in trouble, because now he could not see. He also lost his power. But I must say, losing your sight was not as bad as losing his power. But all of it led to losing favor with God, which is the worst of all. So when you lose your consecration, number one, you will lose your sight. You will make decisions that don't have meaning. Number two, you lose power. You may be brought down, your kingdom and your leadership. But worst of all, the Lord will no longer be with you. That's really what will happen to you. Why is Samson important to us? Every believer is a consecrated person. And because you are consecrated and you are given what you need to do by God, so you are set apart, it will be important for you to understand that if you don't live under that consecration, you also will, number one, lose your sight, number two, lose your power or leadership, number three, you'll have a curse from God. You know, the leader should be doing his task as God has given it. The strength of the consecrated man and the strongest individual in anywhere is from God. The strength of a dedicated man or even woman are seen in Hebrews chapter 11. Look at all the people called the heroes of the faith in Hebrews 11. And you'll see they all accomplished great things. And after great things, and they suffered great things for the name of Christ. So consecration is not just for the believer who is a priest or a pastor. It's for anybody who wants to serve God through any leadership role. The smallness of Christians today is the result of the smallness of their dedication to Christ. Only the consecrated have the strength. So here, Samson teaches us that the more you want to be used of God, the more you need to know him. You know, I am told by architects, the higher the skyscraper, the greater is the foundation. What that means is as you become a leader, your quiet time needs to be longer, deeper, and you're more committed. This is a time you cannot escape it. Leaders of the past have said, I'm having such a busy day, I must have 1 hour of prayer. In other words, to them, because of the challenges they are facing, they don't have less prayer. They have more prayer. So that the busier you are, the more you need to guard your quiet time. Whether you have to wake up at night or whatever, you must fence a time when you talk to God, because you know what you are doing professionally out there is actually coming from the strength God gives you. And you know, you as a leader from the life of Samson needs to know and guard your source of strength. The moment you have understood, like I've emphasized, that strength comes from our consecration, then you need to know what is your secret of strength. Don't come to where you start thinking that you are special. You are not special. You can calm down. It's important to know you are getting it from God. From God. What makes this consecration give you strength? It's because really man is God's creation. So any power he has is a power from him. Samson without God became a poor fool. You also will become a fool. But the secret of Samson's strength was his consecration. If we are to have any strength to serve God, we similarly must live a dedicated consecration life. We cannot serve Christ in our own strength. The power to serve comes from God. He gives his power to us when we are wholly his. So don't start thinking that as a leader, you now play around with your relationship with God. You know, that's one of the problems that has happened. Many people who are serious with the Lord enter politics. That's the last time you hear of them. They are unable to continue being leaders and spiritually alive. Samson should, every time you remember him, should remind you about the importance of remaining connected with God. You know, you must be somebody who is aware of your weaknesses, aware of the snares that you are likely to face. The danger is that his hair, the Samson's hair, was a secret nobody knew. Of course, the parents would have known. But the people, his enemies, did not know. But he gave them. There is 1,000 razors by which the devil intends to shave your consecration. Don't allow him. The devil is so clever that he can shave us and we wouldn't know it, because you'll do it when you're asleep. In other words, he'll give you some success, something that makes you completely oblivious of the risk you are actually taking. That's what the devil does. And therefore, he will use the razor that will destroy you. Let's look at a few examples of what brings down leaders. One of the things that brings down leaders is pride. You came out from nowhere. You wonder even how you could ever become as great as you are. Initially, you are so grateful to God, so humble. So sometimes you're feeling, wow, yes, I'm special. What gets into you? Pride. God will never give us strength to glorify ourselves. So the moment instead of giving credit to him, like Daniel of old did, and unlike the way Samson did, we will be in trouble. Pride is the act of taking away from God his own glory. You want glory to become yours. His glory, the glory of God, is the reason for our consecration. So as a leader, one razor blade the devil will use to ensure you no longer have power and you are no longer walking in wisdom. You are no longer the kind of guy whom we elected or who we were happy to have as our leader. It will come from your sense of, I can do without God. I'm a leader. Number 2 is the nature of self-sufficiency. You start trusting yourself, and that is the beginning of failure. That's the message of Judges chapter 16, verse 20. I can do it. I can do it. Even if you cut the hair. Even after the hair was cut, the guy was still running to fight. He discovered on his own there wasn't much he could actually do. Self-sufficiency. Have you reached a level where you now know how to lead? You no longer ask God for wisdom? After all, the way I made a decision last year was so good, I can do it on the basis of how I did it last time. Each new challenge requires new strength and new wisdom from God. So self-sufficient will be a problem. And then finally, not living for God's glory and for the good of the community. You start now asking, what is it for me? I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave something for me. People to remember me. When you are taken up by so much interest in legacy, so much interest in how you'll be remembered, that's how you end up never being remembered. People remember one who lived for the community. Madera is remembered because of the sacrifice he gave for his community. So the moment you start living for self, there'll be trouble. Popularity is the reason many preachers have gone down, when they start living for self and popularity. When we make self the primary object of our existence, our concentration will be broken. We might get wealth, but we will lose the power God has given us. So we are learning from Samson that there are razors that are still available and the devil is still using for those of us who have ended up in leadership. The leader should be aware that his failure will embarrass his appointer. Are you aware that God cannot have given you that leadership to fail? What he wants is your success, because number 1, it will bring glory. Number 2, it will help his people. That's why he has made you a pastor. That's why he has made you a bishop. That's why he has made you a manager. That's why he has made you a chief. God himself allowed you. Of course, there may have been elections, but God is the one who turned the hearts of people to elect you. You are a leader because God made you a leader. And why did he make you a leader? Not to end up embarrassing him, but to bring him glory. Judges 16 verse 21 says, then the Philistine seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza. A total embarrassment of this man of God. Do not bring Christ's name to disgrace. There have been many who go the way of Samson, even in current times. When a Christian falls, he brings shame, not just to himself, but to God. Please understand that the higher God has given you, the more embarrassment you bring to his kingdom. And yet, God is a holy God. He will allow you to go down because he cannot allow you in your pride to continue. So, even if it will bring shame, that's what the Israelites said. Hey, you brought us here. It will bring your name in shame. Oh, we have your temple. He told them, no. I will still send you to exile. And you need to understand, even if you have been a man of God and you have done many, many wonderful things for his kingdom, God will allow you to go the way of destruction if you have chosen to go your way. So, what have we seen so far? That Samson is one of the most recognizable of judges who ruled during that time. We know his name, especially because of his strength. But you also learn he was a Nazarite who broke many rules of Nazarite. What's a Nazarite? A consecrated person. You have also seen that God gifted Samson with incredible strength, but he lost his strength through a woman called Delilah, who used a razor blade to remove the source of his strength once he had been told the secret. At the end of life, God restored the strength, and we'll be seeing that. So, please understand this, that out of the life of Samson, we learn that we are more nurture than nature. Nurture means our environment. Who you become is more of the environment you take more than nature. In his nature, he was given birth by godly parents. That is nature, his genes. But in nurture, he kept the wrong company with prostitutes and people like that. End result, it didn't matter his background. Didn't matter that God had set him apart. He ended up without eyes and destroyed. We are more nurture than nature. Do not start thinking that because you got saved when you are young, it will help you today. What company are you keeping? Are you keeping the company of the Holy Spirit and the people of God? Do you have a prayer group you pray with, irrespective of your seniority, whether president or minister or whatever? Do you still have people who pray with you, who walk with you, who seek the mind of God with you? Please remember, whoever appoints you determines how you lead, because he is the one who gave you the work. You should lead his way. Samson was a Nazarite. He should have led as a Nazarite. You know, leadership requires sticking to your calling. God called Samson to use his strength for the good of his nation. He just became somebody violent because he started killing people in the wrong way. For example, in Judges 14 verse 9, he scooped out of the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it, but he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Why? Because the way he had dealt with the matter was not something he wanted to talk about. Leadership requires sticking to your calling, not starting to use your violence, misusing your strength at times when it is not helping the Israelites. And yet the strength was supposed to be helping the Israelite nation. So, question, how are you using the power God has given you? God gave you for a reason. You try to use it differently, you end up in trouble yourself. You know, he attends wedding feast where alcohol is present, although we don't have proof he took it, but he was keeping the wrong company. You know, it's important to understand that he ends up killing 30 Philistines when his wife Timnah tricks him out of a wager. Judges chapter 14. Whether killing them came from a sound mind or maybe he had lost his temper to the extent of insanity. The point that needs to be understood very, very clearly is that he was not operating the way God wanted him. He was using his strength and power wrongly. You know, leadership recognizes the source of strength, and it's important to understand if you don't, where you got your strength, you will lose it. Do not misuse the power God has given you. You know, do not do your violent acts like Samson, using your power in the wrong way. You know, for example, he ties the tails of 300 foxes together, fastens ablaze torches to them, and sets them loose in Philistines' fields. Now, is he really organized? Is he trying to conquer the Philistines? What is he up to? Or just violence, misusing power? You know, you should not even use your power for revenge. And leadership and revenge are a bad combination. When the Philistines retaliate and burn Samson's wife and father-in-law, he attacks them viciously and kills many of them. He is a guy who is in, what are we talking about? Revenge. Brother leader, sister leader. It will be important to understand Romans chapter 12 says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Don't use your power and leadership to revenge your personal problems. When God is with you, he will give you victory, even if you only have a jawbone. In Judges 15:16, he uses a jawbone. Verse 13 says, agreed, they answered. We will only tie you up and hand you over to them. We will not kill you. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax. And verse 15, finding a fresh jawbone of donkey, he grabbed and struck down 1,000 men. In other words, when you are on the side with God, like in this instance, when you pray for strength, he can make you do the impossible. Stay with God, and he will even help you to use a jawbone, anything small. I know, but keep the right company. Don't keep with the rulers of the Philistines and expect that you are not going to be hurt. You must know who are your friends, who are your enemies. Every leader must know God is a God of the second chance. As we go towards finishing, I think it will be important to understand this God, who is a God of the second chance. Judges chapter 16, verse 28 says, then Samson prayed to the Lord, Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me, with one blow, get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. That's very good for you as a leader to hear that it does not matter what mess you have done in the past. If you come to God and say, I am wrong, come to your followers and say, I am wrong. God is a God of the second chance. And he gave Samson new strength, and he ended up killing more people as he died than he had killed when he was alive. The Philistines were in real trouble from a dying man. Why? Because he repented and because he cried to God. And our God is a God of second chance. So even as we talk about this as leadership, and you can see clearly you have been a leader like Samson, misusing power, womanizing, I don't know what you call women who misuse men also. If you are that kind of a person, I think it's good as we go towards finishing, it's important to understand the story of Samson is a story with hope, that God is a God of second chance. And you should understand that God can take away your gift, and because you know he can get your gift, avoid the gift being taken away. However, if it is being taken away, please run to God in repentance. He is a God of the second chance. But one of the things that is, I think we learned from Samson, he would act out of desperation. Judges 16 verse 16 says, with such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death. You know, please, one of the lessons we learned from Samson, never act out of desperation. If you are in a corner, you have to make a decision now. Don't make that decision. Wait until next time. Refuse to sign a check in a hurry. Refuse to be nagged until you make the wrong decision. Ask for, give me time. Come to me in 2 days' time. I think it will be important to understand. You know, God can use your pain to fulfill your calling. It's something that we need to learn. Go whatever through what you are going. Understand that God will be with you. So as we conclude, are there any of the leaders listening to me who wish to live and honor God? Do you desire not to be like Samson? Would you not rather serve God with a perfect heart and experience his power? Then I suggest to you as a leader, look to Christ. Seek his grace. Meet the Father often in prayer. The bigger a leader you are, the bigger prayer, if that is English, you should be. Dedicate your life to God, and he is going to make you a great leader.